Welcome back to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. Today I want to talk about the preferential treatment given to Ghislaine Maxwell. Terribly damning for the Trump administration because this does not happen without consent all the way up to the top. So when you look back at the Epstein story, one of the most ridiculous parts was when he was serving his sentence for his 2007 conviction, how he just had the run of the entire jail. Like he literally made the sheriffs or whoever they were who were guarding him wear suits so that when they brought his visitors in, his guests in, and he had a whole special room with television, he could come and go as he pleased during the day. He had to stay there at night, and you look back on that and you're like, wow, that's freaking terrible. Oh, it's happening now. It's happening right now to Ghislaine Maxwell. So you look back and you're horrified, like, oh, that's criminal justice. Like, that's what it is. Yeah, no, if you're special, it is not for you, not for me, definitely not for you or me. But if you're special, which means you're a PDF file, who's working on behalf of a foreign government. Yeah, this is how it works, right? And it's happening right now to Ghislaine Maxwell. Trump is totally complicit. Pam Bondi, just all the way down the line. The entire Justice Department. This is absolutely disgusting. And so a whistleblower came out, and we're going to look at a Newsweek article, and we're going to look at what she said is going on. Now, first of all, before I even go to this, let me tell you the story, right? So she basically said, hey, I want to comply with the DOJ and, I want to, because I want to get out, so I'm going to tell you all the things. So Trump's DOJ went and sat down with her. She said, nobody was trafficked to anybody. Trump wasn't involved. Okay. So you give us nothing. So you give us literally nothing. Epstein was just trafficking girls to himself despite the fact that the Prince of England now got his royalty taken away, because he was involved in this, and Virginia Dufresne, and we know about these things, and none of this is true. Ghislaine, nobody's buying this. Okay, so they do that whole thing, and then she's applying for commutation of her sentence and all that, and it's like, okay, so nothing happened, nothing interesting happened. She didn't come spill the beans and tell about Bill Clinton or Trump blowing Bubba or just all of the things, things that actually happened. So let's go to this article and check it out. We're to look at, so the point I was going there, I'm sorry, before I get there, was that so she's a sex offender. And so as a sex offender, you cannot go to a minimum security facility. You just can't. You can't. And the reason why you can't is because it's super easy to escape a minimum security facility. They're not trying to really prevent you from escaping. If they see you escaping, they'll stop you, but it's not really a big deal. Like if you're in a level 1 prison, you could just walk away if you want to. They got work details that you work with the local fire department and stuff like that. You're like just walking around on the street. You could just walk away if you want to. If you do, you'll never be put into a minimum security facility for the rest of your life. You also get new charges, this and that. So they only take people who have the most minor crimes to put them into minimum security facility. You can't take somebody who's an arsonist or who's a murderer or who's a sex offender and put them in there, because the problem is if they go out and they do any one of those things again, then they're going to be the states or the federal government in this case is going to be liable for what they did. If you take somebody who's, got petty theft with a prior, because now it's a felony in California to have petty theft with a prior petty theft, which is why you can get 3 strikes for stealing a piece of pizza. But, and then you put them in a minimum security facility and then they escape and they kill somebody, you couldn't have known that they would have done that. You're not liable for that. And if they do another petty theft, you're like, we got them for another petty theft. Like they stole a candy bar, whatever. It's not a big deal, but you can't put a sex offender there, because if they go do something like that again, like say she sneaks out and starts trafficking girls and you're like, hey, you could have protected our girls by putting her in a higher level facility. So anyway, she's not even supposed to be in the facility. There's not a way that this can accidentally happen. There's not a way, because incarcerated people despise sex offenders, right? Which is why, we'll get to that story in a second. So because of that, they could just file a small amount of paperwork, just any one of the inmates there, and have her removed from the facility because she's not supposed to be there anyways, But of course, she's there at the behest of the DOJ because they're complicit in all this. And then like the story I was about to say, one lady did get up in her face and tell her just what a piece of garbage she was, trafficking those thousands of victims, this and that, which, they pretend don't exist or whatever. I don't know. And, got up in her face. And then, so what they did is they took the woman who got up in her face, who was supposed to be at that facility. And keep in mind, it's not against the rules to get up in somebody's face. It's just the problem is in prison, if you get up in somebody's face, they're going to knock you out, but it just didn't come to blows. So there was no bad thing happen. They took the woman who got up in her face and they transferred her to a terrible, awful facility, kind of like the facility that Ghislaine Maxwell should be in. Right? And they kept Ghislaine Maxwell in the facility that she's not supposed to be in because she's a sex offender. So anyways, let's go to this article and look at her treatment. So this is from Newsweek. Whistleblower speaks out into Ghislaine Maxwell's treatment in prison. So basically there's this woman. Her name's Noella Turnage, and she's been working for Bureau of Prisons, BOP, since 2019. And she just contacted Congress and she's like, hey, I got some information. Look at this picture. Look at this picture. So here's Trump, here's Melania, here's Epstein, and here's Ghislaine Maxwell. And where's Epstein's right hand? That's Trump's hand right there. Where is his right hand? Unless it's behind his back, it's on. Anyways, so that's just conjecture. But I mean, I'm not going to let some creep stand right behind my wife like that close. This is not a thing. So anyways, basically, this Noella Turnage comes forward and talks about all the terrible things that, all the privileges that Ghislaine Maxwell is getting. And so as punishment for that, she gets sent to the room where they go through the mail and the emails, the phone room it's called. And so she gets punished for going there. And she had also previously gotten in trouble for reporting poor work conditions and alleged mistreatment of inmates at federal prison camp Bryan, which is the one she's at. And so she got punished for doing that. Okay. And then basically, so then she comes out and she tells all the things, like, for example, So right here, Maxwell also enjoyed private catered style visiting arrangements at the minimum security facility. And so for example, there was a whole thing about closing down the compound for her to have a visit. So what they did is they closed down the entire prison and she went to the chapel and of the jail and got her visitors there. Oh man, that's exactly like what happened to Epstein, isn't it? In Florida, isn't that the exact same thing that happened? Look at this. I guess maybe they can bring everybody and say it's a legal visit, she continued. I don't know, but they're going to have an area cornered off for you, so it won't be a problem coming in. They're going to provide drinks, coffee, snacks, and all this stuff to a PDF file in a minimum security facility. They're shutting down the facility so that she can have legal visits, and that's not how that works in prison. The person has to prove that they're a lawyer and that they've passed the bar and this and that, be on the approved lawyer visiting list for the facility, apply for the visit, and then show up, and you could get that done pretty quick because if you're a lawyer, I mean, you could just go look up the lawyer. It's not that hard, but you can't just have random people saying it's a legal visit. That's not a thing that happens in prisons, especially in federal prisons. That's not a thing. Here's the chapel story. In August, as hundreds of other inmates were confined to their dormitories after breakfast, Maxwell met with several visitors in the federal prison camp's chapel. Sources close to the matter told the newspaper. This has got to be so infuriating if you're in that federal prison camp, because every single person who's there is a better human being than Ghislaine Maxwell. Like the one who's there for smoking crack, breaking in some place, some lady, some black lady, will just pretend, and then she pawned some stuff and got caught pawning some stuff, and now she's here. I don't know why that would put her in a federal camp, but say, just whatever. She's like a crackhead, this and that, and she's looking at Ghislaine Maxwell, and she's like, I'm so much freaking better than you. And she's correct, and then to be locked down like you're planning to go do whatever women do at a prison camp, work out. I don't know what they're doing. And then you can't get out of your cell because, Ghislaine Maxwell is going to have a private thing, Okay, then here we go. Trump's response right here. White House officials on Tuesday referred Newsweek to remarks made last week by Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on whether Trump is mulling a pardon for Maxwell. Again, he's answered this repeatedly. It's not something he's talking about or even thinking about at this time. Leavitt told reporters on Wednesday, I can assure you of that, end quote. And then we're talking about Raskin here, sent a letter to President Donald Trump demanding that Blanche testify before the House Judiciary Committee on the alleged favorable treatment for Maxwell. Here's what Raskin said. Within FPC Bryan, the deference and servility to Miss Maxwell have reached such preposterous levels that one of the top officials at the facility has complained that he is, quote, sick of having to be Maxwell's bitch, end quote. I mean, this is just so disgusting. I'm done with this article. But then you look at it and you're like, okay, so who are the good guys in this story? The Democrats. The Democrats are the good guys. The Democrats are the ones pushing for the Epstein files to be released. I don't care if there's politics behind it. If you're doing what I want you to do, then you're doing the right thing. If I want the best for the United States of America, and I do, I want justice to be had for those victims. I want punishments for the people that were, I don't even care, victims of blackmail. I don't care, because if you did the thing, I want severe punishments. So when the Democrats are pushing back against this treatment, I'm totally on board. I'm not on board with their social stuff, this and that, but like, you got to call it when they're right. And Trump is the establishment, just the establishment, freaking the worst. And I tell you, like, look, if Kamala Harris had gotten elected and it's like, yeah, Kamala Harris is the establishment. I'm like, I mean, okay, yeah, of course she is. Like Biden, Harris, like it's a whole thing, what do we expect, And then when you come in and you say, but I'm going to fight back against the establishment. I'm going to drain the swamp, and you are the swamp. Now, it's not like you're in the swamp. You are the swamp. It's so freaking disgusting. And that's why it's infuriating, because the disappointment of somebody saying that, hey, and then you look on like, I don't know, like Twitter or something, and you see like Democrats and they're like, Republicans, you got it yet? You figured it out yet? And you're like, F you. You know what I mean? Because at least we had a hope and we tried, and because maybe we can get this or that. Maybe, nope. On Epstein's side, on Maxwell's side, this is trash. Is it going to pardon her at the end of his term, or right before he gets impeached? I don't know. I just wouldn't doubt it. And are people going to be furious? I don't know. It should be pointed out by more people. Jimmy Dore covers this. A few people cover this. This should be pointed out by more people. It's very important, I think, Anyways, that's what I got for you. Today's the day after Thanksgiving. I'm filming this, so this will come out next week. I have another weeks of videos, but then I got to take down the studio because I'm moving. Anyways, so I'm moving, and it's going to cost me $480 to move the business to the new state, to register as a foreign. It's really stupid. Anyways, if you guys want to pitch in on that, for frame of reference, and I got a really good deal. My moving truck's slightly less than $600. It's only like a 4 or 5 hour drive, but it's the max size with the auto trailer and all that. So moving the business is nearly as expensive as moving my entire family, Anyways, if you want to help donate for that, I got links in the description to Square, where you can just one-time donate or donate monthly. Those are also on the website. Link in the description to that. There's donation links there. Anyways, that's what I got for y'all. Hope you have a great week. See you next time.